Hello, LARP Arts Facebook group and YouTube and whoever else is going to be viewing this. This is Jarl Arlen Akumatron of Trader's Gate, Master Garber. I'm going to be showing some applique secrets today. I'm still using the snake arm here, so I'm going to be trying to get as close as I can, as humanly possible. If not, let's see right now how close I can get. It's about as close as I'm going to be able to get. So, right now, I'm using a thread. It's orange, as you can see. I'm not entirely sure what its thickness is, and that is going to influence the satin finish stitch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to calibrate that and start going. We'll see. And honestly, it looks like we get past this. Yeah, that works for what I'm showing. So what I have here, this is the Singer Heavy Duty. The settings that I'm using right now, here's the zigzag stitch. To get it to the satin stitch, which is how the look and finish and feel and all that looks, I press this button. I set it down to 3 for the width. And then the stitch distance, which is how close these zigzags are going to be, is half of whatever the measurement is. This is actually determined, and the look of this is based off of the weight of your thread, I have found out. I usually use a Gutermann thread, which is a cotton, like this one. You'll see right here, this is the weight. So with this, when I set it to the 0.5, this allows me to do the satin finish stitch without the use of a stabilizer, because what's happening is this is matching the width of the thread itself. So instead of the threads overlapping, they're just gonna be side by side because they're the same width as the distance, which prevents puckering, which is the whole reason why we're using stabilizer. So I'm going to continue this. The first thing we're going to talk about is hitting a corner. Now, I like to bring, when it's square like this, I like to bring it right to it, right to the corner's edge. We're going to do a quarter turn. I'm going to move this just a little bit because I don't like it going through. And then we do 2 stitches back and forth, and then we turn the rest of the way. And then that should be far enough along, sometimes, if not, just move it to where you'll be able to do your full turn, get square, and go. For regular applique like this, the other type of applique is reverse. You're going to be going clockwise. Reverse applique, I find it easier to go reverse clockwise, and I'll show the difference in another video here. But with this, we want to make sure that our needle ends up being on the outside of the thread here, or not thread, but the fabric, and then we can continue on. We're going to follow the fabric's edge all the way down. You see I got a little bit off trail there. It happens. do a quarter turn. little bit. Like I said, I like it there. 2 stitches. And then we do the full turn. Now, the important thing about this is that you shouldn't be starting over top of this bar of thread. That's the whole reason why we're turning it the way that we did. Because if you just turn it in that full 90-degree angle or full turn, whatever you want to call it, you'll sometimes be starting above it. And then what you'll see is kind of like a Lincoln log effect, where you'll have thread on the outside of your actual work. And I'll show that. We'll see if it does it with this machine. So if I just go right here, right? Because that pivot point is on the outside corner, if you just do it straight like this, you're on the top outside corner. And then when you start, I'll show it here once this gets finished. This is the reason why we do a segmented turn. You'll notice I ended that too far. Finish this off. I always like to end it on that side so it goes right back. Okay, so we'll show you why you do that segmented turn. So right here, just make sure I get this on camera. See how there's a few stitches on the outside over top? That's because we did a 90-degree turn right away. Versus a segmented turn keeps it pretty nice and square. Do that on both sides. Next we'll do, I was going to do just a regular triangle, but a star. I've seen lots of people mess up with stars. I learned this trick from a master quilter and his YouTube channel. So we're going to start just past that corner. We're going to go right to the edge. This one's a little bit different. We're going to do a huge pivot. We're going to lift the needle. We're going to let it go back down so that's hovering. That's hovering right above the fabric. I'm not sure how well you can see that. And then we're going to move so that the last stitch hole is now right underneath where it's going to go now. So that last stitch was on the right side. Now it's going to be going in the same hole as it was on the right side, but now it's on the left side. And then what happens now, so it does the stitch, it overlaps the tip a bit, and then we're able to come straight down. Now, I call this an inside corner. The tips are all going to be outside corners, because when you're normally doing applique, you're going around the outside of the fabric, right? This is kind of going on, when it comes to an inside, that's kind of like reverse applique. Reverse applique, imagine instead of us sewing the red down onto this yellow fabric, what instead would be going on is that this red would be a hole in the yellow fabric The yellow fabric is then being stitched on top of the red, because in that particular technique you want to show what, like, there's maybe a pattern or design or something. This is something I'll do if I do a figure or an animal that has eyes that I'm wanting to do. It's, imagine the eyeball is the underlying fabric instead of the overtop. That's kind of what you would use that for. So normally when we do a turn, it would be on that outside. We're going to go on the inside here, and we're going to be going a little bit past that corner. So the trick here when doing a triangular corner like this, where you're coming from the inside going out, you want to go past the edge a distance equal to half of what your stitch width is. So we'll say it's 3 millimeters. So you'll want to go past that by 1.5 millimeters, let's say. Once you've done that, you're going to do a corner turn. You're going to do 2 stitches. Do a full turn. And then when you continue stitching, it's lined up. Outside corner with a triangle, we're going to go pretty steep. And I'm going to show you a variety. I've already done this a different way than I did the previous one. And this is the one. This is the way I like doing it more. It looks a bit cleaner, and I'll show you the difference. So here's that inside corner. We're going past. We're going to turn. And then look at that. We can actually already, because the star is not perfect, just go. Okay. I'm going to end this one here. So what you're seeing my sewing machine do there is that it's tying a knot, so that way I can just cut the top strings off instead of having to run them through. But you'll see here, there's that first corner we did. There's that inside corner. There's the next one. The next one. Now it looks a little bit rough, this is a thinner thread than what I'm normally using, it seems like, possibly. And so there is a little bit of a gap in between those threads, and also the light likes to shine down on it and catch in the shadows. So next piece of applique, this is the hard one. This is the one a lot of people have struggles with. So this one's actually kind of tricky, but once you know some tricks for it, it's not so bad. And I'm going to try to maneuver this so it's a lot better. What we want to do is, just like when we're doing a square or a triangle or a star, we want half of this gap needs to be the fabric at all times. Now, I'm going to tighten this up a bit. We'll try this at a 0.3. So, we're going to start pretty loose. Now, just like everything, we want to be tracing the outside edge of the circle at all times, right? I don't usually sew and talk at the same time, so this might not be immaculate, but I'll try for you. So, what I've noticed, now I've had some friends like, oh, if any of this is tough for you, just go slow. And like, yeah, you could go slow. I don't like to go slow. I like to go fast. So, what I have learned when it comes with a perfect circle, and this is as perfect as you can get. This is the outside of a roll of duct tape, and you can kind of see here, like there's a shadow. Now, the trick is simple. It's this: as fast as you go forward, you need to rotate. We'll call this a square circle, in that it is a perfect circle. It would fit within a square, right? So, I can't remember what that weird little mathematical thing is, that like where it's like that spiral, right? That's what you're doing. You're trying to create a perfect spiral, and the best way to do that with a circle is that if you're going forward one stitch, you need to rotate one stitch. So the way that this goes, and my trick for stabilizing all of this so that I can go as fast as I can is I envision that little expression, 3 points define a plane, right? My fingers are set up like a triangle. The index fingers are hugging right around this area, and my thumbs are kept right here. And that center point, it's not really centered, but towards the top is going to be where that needle is going. And this is how I keep it going the way I need it. So as far as I'm going forward, I am also rotating. And you'll see that red fabric encompasses about half the width of that gap between the teeth of that sewing foot. Now, you're going to see right here that this is a very different angle. When that happens, go on the outside, pivot just a little bit more. There's no rules to how you do this. That's the thing that you need to remember about art. There's no set rules. There's just your process and how it works for you. This is what works for me. So now we're going to go back, going to go slow, and then go right back into it. And now, like I said, keeping it square. If you have to, you can slow down and change that angle by hand if you get lost, or just keep it going. Try to keep it square. This is going to have a little bit of a pucker because I was dumb. I didn't have this straightened out as much as I should have. So what happens when you do cotton applique on top of linen fabric. It just happens. So there it goes. And nearly perfect with how it connected. Okay. Now we're going to do our knots. One more for good measure because I like to be on this side whenever I finish an applique. Okay. Push that aside. It's all done. Now, hopefully you can see that difference in color. Looks nearly perfect. I think this edge right here is a little wonky, but that's your circle. Like I said, the trick is real simple. If you're going forward, you also have to rotate. If you're going forward 1 inch, you have to rotate it 1 inch. So All that trick is remembering as you're going forward, you need to rotate it. That's it. That's the trick. That's it. It's kind of hard to figure it out, but it takes practice. Now, if you don't have a sewing machine that has this function where it does the multiple setups or whatever, this is what you got to do to fix your top strings, right? So this is the one that started, this is the one that ended. The best way to know which one is your start and end string is that when most people, or at least me, when I end, it's always after my starting point. But here's what you got to do to finish your applique. Thread, sewing needle. It's got to go in by hand. And then you're just going to basically finish that stitch. From there, you got to find it. This is from the other applique. And then you have to tie a knot. If you don't do this, like, you don't have to, but eventually your applique is going to come undone. Get in this habit. Do it all the time. Where's that string? Double knot it. Pull it down. Pull it through. It's done. Okay. So here's your circle. Hopefully that helps. If not, I can do some other stuff. Look at that. Even a master messes up. So hopefully that helps. Well, I'll see you guys soon.